There is something subtly fascinating about a man who keeps his emotions hidden. You notice it in the way he glances at you when he believes you're not looking, the way his eyes remain on you just a little longer than expected, the way the atmosphere seems to shift slightly the moment you walk into the room. He appears calm, self-assured, and perhaps a bit distant, but beneath that controlled exterior, something deeper is unfolding. He wants you, even though he is making every effort to conceal it. Many women believe that if a man is interested, he will clearly show it. He will send the first message, pursue consistently, and openly state what he feels. However, the truth, often unnoticed even by emotionally intelligent women, is that men tend to experience desire in a different way. They are often taught to manage it rather than display it openly. Instead of expressing it directly, they cover it with logic, casual friendship, or a busy schedule. Yet that desire does not simply disappear. It quietly finds other ways to reveal itself. You can notice it through small pauses, quiet humor, or subtle protective actions. Once you learn to identify these signals, you will no longer question what he truly feels. Everything begins to make sense. Today, I'll walk you through 7 hidden signs that show when a man is thinking about you all the time, yet chooses not to admit it. Before we start, it's important to understand that this isn't about playing games or trying to decode secret signals. It's about recognizing emotional truth. Attraction is not always obvious or loud. Often, it appears quiet, complex, and hidden behind friendship, sarcasm, or even apparent indifference. Many women misunderstand these subtle behaviors, assuming he is simply being polite, distracted, or uninterested, when in reality he may be struggling with his own emotions. Perhaps you have encountered a man who seems calm and stable, yet his eyes suggest something deeper. You notice him looking at you, but the moment your eyes meet, he quickly turns away. There is a sense of tension, a quiet spark in the air, yet he dismisses it with humor. You begin to question whether you imagined it. When a man truly desires you, his body language and emotional reactions often reveal more than his words. He may claim he is not prepared for anything serious, yet his behavior tells another story. You start to recognize it in the small details, the tone of his voice when he says your name, the subtle change in his expression when you mention another man, or the way he remembers even the smallest details about you, things you may have forgotten yourself. I once believed that if a man truly wanted me, it would always be obvious. Now I realize that the men who conceal their feelings often experience the deepest emotions. Why is that? Because desire can be uncomfortable. It creates vulnerability. It challenges a person's sense of control, and many men fear losing that control around someone who genuinely affects them. So instead, they try to manage their feelings. They suppress them, explain them away with logic, or hide them behind daily routines. Yet energy rarely lies. Words can be carefully managed, but emotional energy eventually exposes the truth. That is exactly what we will explore today. By the end of this video, you will be able to recognize the subtle psychological and emotional signals that reveal when a man feels deeply attracted to you, even if he tries to act otherwise. And believe me, once you start noticing these signs, it feels like seeing the world in full color for the first time. You will not need to chase or keep guessing. You will simply understand. Attraction is not always communicated through words. It appears through connection, energy, and emotional chemistry that cannot easily be imitated. Stay with us until the end, because sign number 7 reveals everything he has been trying to conceal. Have you ever noticed how his energy changes slightly when you walk into a room? Maybe he is talking with friends, standing casually against a wall, but the moment you arrive, something shifts. His voice becomes a little lower, his body turns slightly in your direction, and his attention becomes more focused. It is not dramatic, but it feels like a quiet pull of gravity. Most of the time, he may not even realize it himself. That is what makes it authentic. When a man is attracted to you but tries to hide it, he attempts to behave normally, yet his attention often reveals the truth. He will notice your laughter even in a busy space, remember small details you mentioned in passing, and sometimes repeat your phrases without even realizing it. Psychologists refer to this as emotional mirroring. His subconscious adjusts to your rhythm because you have become his emotional focus. The more he tries to act indifferent, the more these subtle reactions reveal his feelings. A slight breath when you speak, a glance when you smile, or the way he pauses briefly as you pass by. Here's the paradox: he may even speak less around you because his mind is processing so much. He is not detached, he is overwhelmed. Desire makes him cautious. He worries that his words might expose his emotions. Sign 2. He tries to impress you without appearing to try. This is one of the most intriguing yet understated signs. He might casually mention achievements, not in a boastful way, but just enough to seem effortless. He could adjust his posture when you are near, straighten his shirt, or drop a light joke to make you smile. It's the male version of grooming, both physically and emotionally, and it goes beyond looks. It signals competence, capability, and confidence. Men want to be seen as capable, confident, and steady, especially by the woman they are attracted to. So when he subtly shows up around you, offers help, remembers small details, or shares thoughtful advice, it's not by chance. He is creating an emotional environment where you feel comfortable and quietly impressed, even if you don't consciously notice why. Yet he minimizes these efforts. Acknowledging them would reveal his feelings, and emotions can feel risky. Here's what many women often miss. Desire isn't always about words or physical touch. It's about demonstrating value. When he presents his best self around you, it's his quiet way of saying, "I want you to see me at my best," even if he never says it aloud. And the more composed he seems, the more intentional these subtle actions truly are. Sign 3. His emotions fluctuate when he's around you. This is a key indicator. You may notice he is warm, engaged, and playful one moment, and then unexpectedly distant the next. This doesn't mean he's losing interest. It shows that his desire is at odds with his need for control. He is balancing his attraction to you with the need to protect his pride. Strong feelings bring both excitement and fear. This push-pull behavior is not confusion, it's chemistry. He is experiencing emotions he cannot fully rationalize, so his way of coping is to step back just long enough to regain composure. Think of it as emotional whiplash. He is drawn to the connection but hesitant to be completely transparent. By responding with calm and warmth, rather than chasing him, you give him the safety to reveal his feelings. His tone softens, his defenses drop, and his desire shows itself through curiosity, questions about your life, your dreams, and your moods. The more emotionally aware you are in these moments, the faster his subconscious trust grows. For a man, the deepest desire isn't always physical. It's emotional safety with someone who can understand silence without judgment. I remember coaching a woman who said, "He acts hot and cold. I can't read him." Once she observed without reacting, letting his natural rhythm unfold, he began to open up. Not through dramatic confessions, but through small, consistent gestures, longer eye contact, deeper questions, slower goodbyes. Desire isn't chaos, it's connection masked as uncertainty. The tension that confuses you often signals that he feels deeply but isn't yet ready to show it. And perhaps that is exactly what makes it so captivating. Unspoken desire has its own unique language. You can feel it in silence, in fleeting glances, and in the energy that exists between you. So, how can you tell when subtle admiration turns into genuine emotional attachment? This is where the next signs become noticeable, and they may surprise you. When he begins to crave your presence constantly, it's not just occasional thoughts about you. His mind starts revolving around you, day and night. Have you noticed how he appears in the smallest moments of your life? Maybe he reacts to your story with a quick emoji, shares a random meme, or sends a message like, "This reminded me of you," without any particular reason. It's never a full confession, but always enough to maintain a connection. This is what emotional craving truly looks like. When a man tries to convince himself it's just casual interaction, he may tell himself he's only being friendly, but deep down his subconscious knows the truth. He is maintaining an invisible thread between you, a connection that lets him feel close while avoiding the risk of rejection. He might reach out without any particular reason, then pull back if your response is too warm, almost as if he's resetting the emotional distance. This pattern is not a game, it's a form of self-protection. When a man desires someone but fears losing control, he alternates between presence and absence. His timing and the tone of his messages are deliberate, not random. Each message acts as an emotional breadcrumb, quietly saying, "I'm thinking of you, but I can't admit it yet." If you're emotionally aware, you'll notice the rhythm. He doesn't want you to chase him. He is simply seeking reassurance that you're still present. Another sign is subtle possessiveness. This appears as small flashes of jealousy that slip through his otherwise composed demeanor. He may never say, "I like you," but it becomes clear in how he reacts when another man is mentioned or when you talk about dating. Sometimes he masks it with a joke, but beneath the humor there's tension. He is testing emotional boundaries, seeing how much attention he still holds. This isn't toxic possessiveness. It's a sign that he is emotionally invested. Even his body language can change: a tightened jaw, a lower tone of voice, or prolonged eye contact, as if silently claiming something that was never formally his. Most men find vulnerability challenging, and this is one way it quietly shows. When a man craves someone, he often shows it through subtle competition. He may show up more often, offer help, or make extra effort to make you laugh, quietly signaling that no one else connects with you the way he does. Here's the emotional truth: small moments of jealousy aren't always about control. Often, they are the only way a guarded man lets his desire surface, because wanting someone without claiming them can feel risky. But when you respond with warmth instead of defensiveness, smiling, staying composed, you communicate that it's safe for him to feel without losing his dignity. That's when his walls begin to come down. Sign 6. He listens in a way that feels deeply personal. When a man truly desires you, he doesn't just hear your words, he absorbs them. All notice that he remembers things you said weeks ago, recalling your tone, expressions, and little preferences. He may bring them up casually, as if it's nothing. "Didn't you mention that coffee shop near the park?" Or, "I remember your sister's graduation. How did it go?" These are not empty gestures, they are emotional anchors. Every detail he remembers reflects the closeness he is quietly nurturing. Listening becomes his private way of showing intimacy. He observes your rhythms, moods, and laughter, not to manipulate, but to understand how to connect with you on a deeper level. He might not say, "I miss you," yet he demonstrates it by remembering your world as if it were his own. Around you, his focus sharpens and distractions fade. It's not because you demand his attention, but because you have become his emotional center. The safer he feels with you, the more he craves that sense of calm and security. Here's the hidden dynamic: craving isn't always intense or sexual. Often it's a quiet, magnetic pull toward someone who feels like home. Even when he's busy or distracted, he finds subtle ways to re-enter your life, because emotionally, you have become his grounding point. I've observed this pattern many times. It's rarely about grand gestures. It's the consistency of small, quiet connections that truly reveal a man's feelings. He may believe he's in control, yet the more he resists, the stronger his desire grows. The final sign is the most revealing. It marks the transition from attraction to emotional attachment. At this stage, he doesn't just think about you. He feels you everywhere. His curiosity evolves into genuine emotional dependence. When he's with you, he may seem calm and composed. The real test is how he acts when you're not around. If you notice his energy shift after moments together, becoming quiet or distant, it's not detachment. It's a form of withdrawal. Craving isn't just wanting someone's company, it's needing their presence to feel grounded. When he's emotionally connected, you become his anchor. When that connection disappears, even briefly, it leaves a noticeable void. He may try to fill it with business or rationalization, telling himself he's fine. But a scent, a song, or a message can suddenly bring you back to mind, and the feelings he tried to suppress return in full. He may check your social media, not to monitor you, but to feel connected. He replays small moments in his mind: the way you laughed, tucked your hair behind your ear, or said his name softly. He rarely admits this because men seldom talk about emotional craving, but internally, he feels it deeply. You've become his mental soundtrack. Many women misread his silence as disinterest. In reality, this distance helps him manage the intensity of his emotions. He's recalibrating, trying to regain control because he's unsure whether his mind or his heart is guiding him. The more he tries to seem unaffected, the more obvious his feelings become. You'll notice it in the timing of his actions. He may disappear for days, then return as if nothing happened. This isn't casual, it's how he manages his craving. He hopes distance will reduce his attachment, but when it doesn't, he realizes something deeper. You're not just someone he likes, you're part of his emotional world. At this stage, craving evolves into connection. It's not obsession, it's alignment. He feels safer and more grounded in your presence. Hearing from you brings calm, knowing you're okay restores balance. The unspoken truth about masculine desire isn't control, it's peace. A woman who brings serenity into his life becomes unforgettable. When he begins associating calm and stability with you, that's when he's truly emotionally invested. Ironically, the more he tries to hide his feelings, the stronger they grow. You may notice that when he reaches out again, his tone softens. His messages feel less guarded and more genuine. He might ask how you've been, recall a shared memory, or simply say, "I was thinking of you." These aren't random words, they're subtle signs of emotional surrender. What started as craving has now transformed into a connection he cannot ignore. At this point, you don't need to chase, persuade, or decode. Simply remain authentic, grounded, and feminine in your energy. The calmer and more confident you are, the more he leans in. Craving doesn't thrive on mystery, it grows from emotional resonance. When he senses that your presence brings safety instead of pressure, clarity instead of confusion, he begins to prefer your energy over anyone else's. This is when it becomes clear he isn't just drawn to you physically or emotionally. He craves the version of himself he experiences when he's with you. That is the essence of deep attraction. So, what should you do when you notice this energy? When you feel his silence, subtle tension, or quiet attempts to reconnect, there's no need to confront or demand answers. Instead, focus on your own energy. Be the woman who understands that his desire reflects your presence, not a measure of your worth. A presence that doesn't need to prove, perform, or seek approval. By holding this steady energy, the connection deepens naturally, without words, without pressure. Men don't crave women who chase. They are drawn to women who remain grounded even as their world shifts. That steadiness is magnetic. It transforms quiet desire into respect, and fleeting attraction into lasting emotional devotion. Consider this, he may never admit it, may never say it aloud, but somewhere between his silence and subtle gestures, his heart communicates a language you can feel. If you've wondered whether a man secretly desires you, the answer isn't in his words, it's in how his energy shifts when you step back. When you stop chasing affection, you attract it effortlessly because you embody the calm he cannot live without. Here's the truth that lingers long after a conversation ends. When a man craves you, it isn't about seduction or control. It's about connection, the deep kind that surfaces when he's driving, scrolling through his phone, or lying awake, replaying the moment your smile lingered a little too long. He may not acknowledge it and may convince himself it means nothing, but craving doesn't disappear simply because it remains unspoken. It exists in pauses, in subtle hesitations, and in the way his energy lingers long after you've left. He doesn't crave you because you're perfect or ideal. He craves you because your presence disarms him. You make him feel safe enough to lower the mask he wears with everyone else. He may not fully understand why, but you do. You've learned to read the emotional language behind silence, sensing the truth without needing him to say a word. That is your power. It's awareness, not manipulation. Awareness allows you to navigate connection with grace, clarity, and confidence. If you've ever felt that push and pull energy from a man who desires you but can't fully express it, don't mistake it for confusion. See it as confirmation that your energy matters. Your feminine strength isn't in chasing or proving, it's in allowing his desire to develop at its own pace while you stay centered. When you focus on your grounded energy instead of decoding every action, you shift from reacting to leading. You set the tone of the connection. That is what emotionally intelligent women do. They lead with energy, not effort. They understand that genuine attraction isn't about what you do, it's about how deeply you make someone feel. That's the difference between a fleeting spark and a connection that lasts. You don't need to be the loudest, the most glamorous, or the most mysterious in the room. What matters is being authentic. Authenticity draws people in. Confidence speaks quietly. And inner peace is the rarest form of power. The more you embody these qualities, the more someone will unconsciously crave your presence. You become the calm in their chaos, the gentle force that challenges their control, and the person they can't replace simply by being yourself. This is what draws someone back. Even when they claim to have moved on, it's what they remember long after others fade away. You set the standard for how connection feels warm, effortless, and genuine. You never need to chase, because true connection doesn't require convincing. It recognizes itself. I used to think love was about being chosen. Now I understand it's about being felt. When you live with that awareness, your relationships change. You stop striving to earn attention and begin attracting respect. You stop chasing validation and start commanding presence. A woman who knows her emotional value is unstoppable. She doesn't fear silence. She doesn't panic when things slow down. Her worth isn't tied to anyone's response. It radiates from within. This is the energy that draws people in, not for what you give, but for who you are when you stand in your truth. If this message resonates, if it reminds you of your quiet strength or helps you better understand someone's behavior, don't stop here. Join a space where women grow stronger, wiser, and more emotionally confident together. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and become part of a community redefining attraction, not through games, but through emotional intelligence. When you understand how energy, presence, and self-worth connect, you don't just transform your relationships, you transform your life. Remember, the most desired person isn't the one who is always available. It's the one emotionally grounded enough to make someone feel both desire and peace in her presence. She doesn't chase validation because her presence already speaks volumes. That's who you're becoming, a woman who doesn't just attract love, but inspires it. Once you step into that energy, you'll never question who wants you. Your transformation begins right here, right now.